righty.
Let's go.
Welcome back. Market Mondays.
Yes.
Back at it.
Yeah.
Back at it.
Last Monday of the month. October went by.
Time is flying by.
Halloween tomorrow.
That is a fact. You participating?
Nah, I don't participate in Halloween unless it's a vibe. But
unless it's a vibe.
Some of you have had your clown suits on all year. So
that was an alley-oop.
10 out of 10. That's like when T-Mac bounced it to Vince. Yeah, there we go.
No need to dress up. This is the D-Wade.
Hey,
it's a fact. Full-blown circus already. It's already a circus. All right. Yes. Big week. Before we start, we want to talk about the 10 winners from the Market Mondays Live. Ian picked 10 people randomly, and we will be announcing those names at the end of the show.
Yes.
So you must wait.
Stay
you must
tuned.
have patience. That's very important.
Patience is a virtue.
Patience is very important, but we're not going to make no reaction videos. This will be
promise.
This will be done at the end of the video today. We will be announcing the winner. Got it?
Sure, make a reaction video to old boy talking crazy. But we're not.
Shall forever remain nameless. Shall forever remain nameless.
We might have some commentary throughout
Shout out to Johnny Gill.
throughout the episode.
My.
We might have some
I told people to invest in the S&P. Like, oh, great. I hear you.
You're done. Big week for Market Mondays. As always, as I said, we got a lot to talk about. We got a guest this episode, so
yes,
this is going to be very, very insightful and enlightening for sure.
Yes.
And then also Earn Your Leisure. We got a dope episode tomorrow. Eastside Golf. Shout out to my guys Earl and Olajuwon.
Shout out to the bros.
Shout out to the crew. Check that out tomorrow. They got a dope new collaboration with Jordan Brand. They've been killing the game. Documentary and show on Hulu, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we're back with Assets Over Liabilities.
We are back.
Our Revolt show comes on TV tonight and YouTube on Wednesday. Shout out to our Revolt family. Pusha T, first guest, dope entrepreneur. Actually talked about, we interviewed him at his clothing store in Philly. Got a couple clothing stores. He also has a health company where he actually transports people that are in need. Health transportation company.
Mm-hmm. That's the one.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah. He
talked about, he wrote the I'm Loving It from McDonald's.
The jingle, yeah.
He wrote that. So he talked about that. He talked about the Arby's diss record that he did for against McDonald's.
Smart.
So
and that's another thing. Like, people didn't realize that he's part of the sample that's in the Arby's song now. So he's still getting pushes.
It's one of them guys, man. I mean, that McDonald's situation is legendary. Steve Stout's
learned a lot from that.
Yeah, it's a learning experience for sure. And then of course, talking about fashion. That's what he's big on, and that's the lineage that he comes from, Pharrell and everybody. So
the last time we saw him was an eventful night in Paris.
Patty. So check it out. Big week. And then we'll be at Afrotech this week as well. So shout out to Afrotech. Thank you for having us. I think we speak on Thursday. We will be Thursday. So all the techies, all the black techies out there, let's talk about AI. Let's talk about quantum computing. Let's talk about all the tech stuff, man. Afrotech is a very big situation. So, it's
in Atlanta?
It's in Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas.
Austin, okay.
Shout out to everybody participating in the New York City Marathon this weekend coming up. My brother will be representing the family, representing the brand out there. So God bless everybody that's taking part of it. Go, Greg. We're rooting for you, man. We all rooting for you.
Shout out to Greg, for sure. So, Ian, any announcements?
Yeah, Stock Club call will be this Wednesday. If I made you money, please put yes in chat. I will be doing the JP Morgan event with Jalen Brunson and Nigel Sylvester this Saturday in New York. So that's going to sell out fast, as every other one has sold out. And then November 11th, I'll be in Toronto with the guys from M to M speaking. So moving around. Y'all moving around. I'm moving around. Some other people not moving around. You know what I'm saying? Listen, when old boy put his girl on screen, and when he put the name in the title, I'll say, oh, that bag not bagging. Ooh, that bag light.
Shout out to the team.
Say my name, I'll make him dash like
when
Dane.
you can tell when the money isn't going well, and they're like, let me get an ISO, but the ISO don't work.
Shot an airball. Say my name. Say my name, I'll make a dash like Dane.
Bad look.
Tell Jalen Brunson we need him next summer for Summer League.
I got you on that.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
the New York team.
For sure. We need
Yo,
him.
Yeah.
and shout out to the guy. You said shout out to Toronto. I think today is Twee's birthday, man. Shout out to my brother Twee.
Oh,
Shout out to
shout out to
Daniel, the whole
Twee.
team. Yeah, man. Sherrod, everybody out in Toronto holding it down. I know y'all got the event and you're participating. Shout out. I think Mike is going as well. So shout out to everybody. We will not be in town, so we won't be able to make it. But good luck with all that, man. Shout out to the 6.
For sure. Shout out to the 6. Yeah, Jalen, we need him for Ferris, actually. That's right there.
You just pull up.
Right
10 minutes from the practice.
So we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, we gotta
talk about that. All right. So let's get into this. Jamie Dimon sold one.
Hold on. Before we do that, we got to make sure that the disclaimer's in place.
Oh, good point,
man. Come on, man. Do your own research. Our content is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. It's very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with, or independently research and verify any information that you hear on our show and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. This is a message brought to you by the good brothers at Earn Your Leisure and the good brother Ian Dunlap, the master investor himself. Please continue to do the research. Please share the research. And when you found out that the research was great and you executed on it, give credit to the person you found it from. Love is love, yo.
And go watch the Damon John interview. The interview was fire.
Please. That was
shout out to Dylan Brooks getting cooked by Stephen Curry. Too.
I watched that live. That was crazy.
Hit him with the Home Alone. Hunt him with the Home Alone. Got him.
Nasty work.
Nassau.
So,
Last saw Nassau.
That was fly.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
A fool.
Yep. If you know, you know.
Jalen did well. Dylan not so much.
If you know,
let's get your coladas in the offseason.
Fred Van Fleet, what's good, baby?
Yeah, shout out to Fred.
My dog.
All right, so Jamie Dimon sold 1 million shares of JP Morgan shares worth of $141 million. Should this be a concern for the entire banking sector or the stock of JP Morgan, or is this something that's just regular, nothing to really be too concerned about?
For me, I have to say, shout out to everyone at JP Morgan. Love you dearly. No need to have a meeting about this, but I do believe he's definitely earned this. He's probably the best CEO in that space. But that if you look at that golden parachute number that we keep talking about, if he's going to cash out relatively soon, maybe he'll retire in 5 years. I don't know who succeeds him at JP Morgan. And when I look at the overall landscape, I don't see any other great banking executives. At one point, financial services and banking had a ton of amazing CEOs. I think Brian Moynihan is good, but I think he isn't as great as Jamie. I couldn't tell you 5 other CEOs that are incredible. So it's kind of like the end of an era. This will make me a lot more concerned in the banking industry overall. Of course, he's earned it. I think he's been the best of breed when it comes to banking. But when the best player leaves and you don't have a Steph Curry of banking, a Zion, it's tough. Meanwhile, all of the smaller banks have been collapsing and been acquired. I think he is exiting at the right time when the world is in turmoil. But please keep your eye on how many CEOs are leaving or taking grand compensation packages at this time. I would definitely be concerned.
This feels like 2021 when we were talking about CEOs selling shares of their company. We saw Elon do it. We saw Tim Cook do it. And we saw what happened 6 months after when there was a pullback in tech. I think the timing of it makes sense for him. I'm not sure if I'm too concerned with JP's stock in the sense that last quarter, they reported an increase in 35%. And Ian, you just brought up the small banks. Yeah, you brought up the small banks closing, but guess who was acquiring their customers?
Yep,
JP Morgan.
JP.
And so I don't take too much concern with it. If you look over the history, he took over about 18 years. This is the first time ever that he's ever sold stock. And so that might sound like something that's alarming, but when you look at the history, you can actually, and this is why doing the research is important. When you go to the analytics and you look at the company and who has how many shares, his family owns almost 9 million shares. Yeah. So even if they sold 1 million shares, you still got 8 million shares. You're well vested inside of the company. So I'm not sure that what it means to JP stock, what it means for the overall banking sector. It's cause for concern. We'll see if there's more CEOs who follow that trend of selling shares. Because like I said, we've seen this happen in 2021 inside of the tech space. financial services and banking, if we start seeing that trend, that probably gives us a sign that there's going to be some turmoil, maybe some downturn in that sector. So I would watch it for that standpoint.
Yeah, I agree. And hands down, number one bank. I think he's the number one executive in banking. The stock could be fine. I am worried about the overall banking sector, though, especially with inflation going up. And there's no amazing leadership. Even if we ask everyone in the audience tonight, name me 5 other incredible banking CEOs, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. So, but he definitely deserves this. If anyone deserves this compensation, it's him. And you can argue he's underpaid.
Yeah, look at the numbers. The stats are on the board, right? If we look at just the numbers, when he took over in 2006, JP Morgan was managing nearly $1 trillion in assets. They are now managing $3.2 trillion. You tripled the amount of money that is being managed. And the market cap is now over 410 billion. So we're talking about the overall number of how much you're managing and what the company's now worth. He's done a tremendous job. And if you watched the financial sector since 2006, especially during that time of the real estate crash and how the banks were collapsing, the role that he played in it, you're right. He might be one of those CEOs that is underpaid.
Absolutely.
If you look at what he's done for the bank, and we're talking about since 2006 to 2008, especially when the housing market crashed and the banks were crashing, this guy was the one who came up with the solution, right? When you got everybody in the room and said, you're the person that can help us get out of this. And he did. I mean, you talk about somebody being underpaid in the space. He probably is the person. If we're talking about all CEOs, especially in the banking sector, but just over the overall market, he's probably one of the most important CEOs in the U.S. economy.
No, I agree 1,000%. Especially at a time when banks were not trusted, being vilified left and right. He kind of brought a little bit of peace in that space. Well, we don't have the same concerns about banking that we did in 07, 08, 09. He has to get a lot of credit for that.
Let's talk about the market. The Magnificent Seven falls 29.3% from their highest highs. And Michael Burry had 40,000 put options, and it all panned out to be pretty profitable for him. So we talked about that before, a couple months ago when he had those put options, and looks like he made a lot of money from betting that the market would have a downturn, especially on the tech side. So what's the best way to hedge and be profitable in any market? What can we learn from this situation?
I think a couple of good lessons. Number one, anytime we hit an all-time high, the market is usually going to fall back 5 to 10%. Like, I don't know why everyone's freaking out about this news. Like, since August, we've been coming down. We know historically September is the worst month for the market. So if you're going to set up your shorts, ideally you want to set them up in August. Going to profit in September, probably take profit in October. On a future side, if you're shorting the NASDAQ or the S&P 500, the ES, that's a good way you can hedge. If you're into options, you can do what Michael did. Michael is often early in timing, but he's usually right in his prediction. I remember when he got all those contracts, everyone was like, he doesn't know. And he got lucky from one big short in 07. I'm like, clearly you don't know investing or don't know his track record. He may be in early to a trade, but more than often he is right. So while you're continuing to buy Apple, Microsoft, Google, Meta long term, if you see that there's going to be a reversal of fortune, the same ones that you're going long in another portfolio, you should short. In Chicago, Troy gave you all a hell of a gem on how to do so. We're going to leave it for Chicago. But the same ones that you're trading or investing in long term should be the ones that you're shorting as well, so you can offset those losses. You shouldn't be afraid of a market drop. You should learn how to take advantage of them, because that's really the way you play the game. Most great investors are not going to be down for long in any portfolio because they're hedging when the market is going down.
I think what you're saying is spot on, Ian. The timing is important, right? And so, like, if we look from a historical standpoint, like we've said this over and over, we've said September, October, we're going to see a pullback, especially in tech. We've seen it consistently over the past 3 years that has happened. Well, we also seen, and I would be interested to see when he sold these contracts, right, to make a profit, because we know typically November, December are months, and historically we can look at it over the past 60 years that we're going to see a 1 to 2% increase or appreciation across all indices, specifically the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P. And so the timing is important. And so I want people, especially if you're the person that's, listening to Michael Burry, who's a brilliant guy, to make sure that your timing is right. But what you're also saying is important. How do you hedge it?
Yes.
Right? And so if I'm invested in Nvidia, and everybody that was in Chicago, you saw this. If I'm invested in Nvidia at a 400 strike price, then I'm also going to say, all right, if I see a pullback, I need to know what that percentage is that I'm going to invest in again. So whether that's a 10% pullback, 20, 30%, or 40% pullback, all right, I need to know what that number is. And if it gets to that number, if this is a company that I'm invested in, not only on the equity side, meaning that I have shares, but I'm also having options or whatever else you're doing, be consistent with the company, but hedge it, right? I'm not going to say, all right, wait, it's losing money, I should just watch it lose money. No, I'm going to actually enter the position at another place or another point so that when I know that eventually the market will turn around, especially like we just said, historically, November, December, we're seeing that happen, or we've seen that happen. This is the time where if I had that lower placement or that hedge, it's going to increase at the same time that my original contracts increase. So it's a strategy, but the timing is important. So please understand timing when you're investing, or seasonal time, especially from historical standpoints.
The information isn't hidden. They've been like, if you get the Almanac or you read any major publication, they've been screaming for 40 years. September is one of the worst months. Short in your short-term portfolio and buy in your long-term. Like if they tell you historically this is the worst time, they're telling you what to do. Even Friday, the Dow implied open was negative 99. I told us the stock club yesterday. You can take that target and usually double it. So if the implied open is 99, what should your target be if you're shorting the Dow? Same. If you go long, if the implied open for the Dow is plus 99, you can normally double that target to know where to go. The information is not hidden. I know there's like all these internet conspiracies about they hide real order volume and volume flow. And like, bro, if you just listen to the information that is given to you, you can profit a hell of a lot. It's really not that hard. And especially if you're holding off for a 5 or 10 year period, you don't have that much to worry about.
Okay. And you don't have to choose too many positions. That's another thing. You don't have to choose too many. And that's something that we've been saying for the past 2 years is there might be 5 to 10 that we're looking at.
Yes.
Maybe 12 if we take in some of the healthcare positions that Ian talks about. That's it. Right, you got your Magnificent Seven, and then we got some of the healthcare ones, and maybe a few semis. And it's like, all right, well, if these are the ones that I'm looking at, and I'm just speaking for me, then I'm staying consistent with those. I'm gonna know those. Like I know everything that I say, right? Like I need to master this, and so those are the companies I'm looking at. Yeah, there will be companies that will come about and will pique your interest, but make sure you stay disciplined and focus on the ones that you actually know.
Sexy Red may rotate her options every week. I don't want y'all to be Sexy Red, skied anyway, but I want y'all to stay true and stay loyal. Do Sierra's prayer over your portfolio and stick with the same one. Please. Shout out to Sexy Red.
Shout out to Sexy Red.
Shout out to Sexy Red.
Sure. Well, your portfolio going to be a Sexy Red. You keep playing if you want to.
So what's the biggest lesson you have learned in the last 5 years in the market?
The price of where you decide to buy something is most important. Like ARM is in trouble, Snowflake is in trouble, even on the venture capital side. They're talking about cutting the valuation of some of the companies by 50%. If you were a late stage investor, you are crapping your pants right now. But all of that goes away if you buy at the right price. Troy was having a conversation about some things he had to purchase recently before we came. Like everything comes down to, did you buy at the right price or did you miss and pay late and end up paying a premium? Even when people are saying, hey, Apple's down, Meta's down, which Meta had a hell of a rebound this year. If you bought it last year, you're not complaining. I see too many investors and too many traders who want to get rich off buying at the wrong price. This is how life works. I know we're in a way more sensitive area of life now, but if you buy at the wrong price, you are going to pay. If you're not consistent in your work, you're going to pay. I saw the reaction when your post went up from CNBC. You need 10 million. Oh, y'all out of touch. We've been telling you. You think all these NBA players are making 26 million a year just because the owners want to give them that? No, that's the threshold that you need to pay to be rich. I came in 2020. You need 28 million to be safe. Oh, you're crazy. Okay, we'll see. Some of the ones that are not making what they say end up clipping and putting people's names in videos because they need some traction. If you actually help some people, you wouldn't need to do it. Hey, if he had as many S&P shares as he proclaims, and you paid your staff better, like why the ones who always never pay well want to talk to them anyway? So
yeah, for those of you who are saying that Meta's down, Meta's up 79% this year.
Up 79%. Buy at the right price.
Yeah.
That is
Nvidia is another company that we talk about a lot. I mean,
gave y'all a home run, fastball right over the plate.
It's up 200, but the stock is up 200% this year.
Yes. So what is the option up?
Well, it depends.
Some of y'all need to. It's also down, but it's down. Nvidia has been down since it made its high. That's important to note. So it's been down since it's made its high. So a lot of people got in, and they're actually negative on the Nvidia's position.
They should have listened to Market Mondays. Well, the price for not paying attention to the information.
That's important, right? But even like at its low, right? And that's one of those strategies when we're looking in trading, like higher highs and higher lows, right? Even when it goes up to its high, it hasn't pulled back to a point of support yet. So yes, the timing of when you got into the position, but we're talking about last year when we looked at the NASDAQ and it was down 29%. Yep. The entire index was down 29%. You saw Nvidia at $160, right? Like it hasn't gone under 400 yet. I'm waiting, but it hasn't gone under 400 yet. So it's just about the timing of it, but it also takes patience. I think that's one of those things. And I don't know if you finished about some of the things you learned over the past 5 years, is that it takes patience, and it really requires a seatbelt mentality. Like, all right, I've done the homework. I'm putting my seatbelt on. I'm trusting my research. I'm trusting what I've heard, and I'm trusting my instincts when it comes to this. And it's something that you'll learn throughout the process.
Yeah, and also once something triples, that's not the time to buy it. We talked about it before. If something's up 300%, you have to wait for it to pull back. I know you're going to be upset, and we all have FOMO. There's other things that we all have missed out on. You can't chase it at the wrong price because it's going to take you too long to get in a profit if you do. I told everybody as soon as Nvidia hit that high, hey, if you can't afford it, take profit at 496. Get out and enjoy. For everyone else, hold on and continue to add, because the number of shares that you have matters more than anything. I think too many people want to have a great entry and great exit to post it on social, and it's like, but you have 5 shares. The difference doesn't make. Like, you need to have enough shares that it's going to impact your life and the lives of your family, like positively for a few years, not just, for clout to post on IG or post on TikTok. So buy at the right price. That's my biggest lesson. But what about you guys?
Yeah, no, definitely buy at the right price, diversify. Individual stocks are always going to be more riskier than ETFs. So take that into consideration as well. And dollar cost average.
Yep. It's also simple.
That'll help you. Instead of trying to time the market, you can dollar cost average and just don't worry about the timing. You just put money in consistently, no matter what, whether it's high, whether it's low, and then it'll just average out over the course of time. So that's a strategic way to actually start investing, especially with small amounts of money. Put 300, 200, whatever you can afford to put into the market every single month, and don't even worry about it, and just do that consistently over the course of time, and that usually will make out better as opposed to trying to have a lump sum of money put in at one particular time.
Ian, what do you think the number of shares in terms of people who are beginners in the world of investing? Is it 10 or is it case by case, right? Depending on your threshold for investing. Is there a number? Is it 1,000? Is it 10,000? How many shares?
To feel comfortable?
To feel comfortable.
A minimum of 1,000. I've always said you need 10,000 to get to a point of freedom, but the first goal should be 1,000. For everyone who says they don't have money, I see them all under your post. You make time to make your car payment. You make time for OnlyFans, Applebee's and Cheesecake Factory, STK, Balenciaga, Nike. I don't want to hear it. Where you deploy your capital will determine your level of happiness. I'm going to touch on this point one more time and leave. Everyone that I hear say something negative to, is their bag a little bit shaky or not? Things don't look like as good as they should be. I've seen y'all pass up a bunch of people real fast. Now they're getting intimidated. That bag ain't hitting. I told you when old boy had his wife about to do another video with 7 people now.
I saw that.
It wasn't enough the first time. Oh, 7. I hurt my heart. I don't even know her.
What they call that in that world? 7. That's Bang Bros. What's that?
Pretty much. That's an exotic Amtrak. If the business goes so bad, you got to put shout out to Flacco, shout out to Adam, everybody else. But if you do good business, you won't have to worry about these things. That's all I'm going to say, man.
Midnight.
You have to pick where you deploy your capital if you want freedom or not. Otherwise, you're going to have to do this cloud chasing BS to help get the bag up.
So 1,000 shares.
Minimum.
So
let's do it.
I know we got a guest coming
on.
on.
You good, doing good. Stay it out the way.
Yeah, I might. Like I said, and some it ain't worth responding to. Yeah, it might. It just depends on. But I feel like they got to be an even weight class. So when you look at people that they interview 80s R&B singers and ex drug dealers that told on themselves and ex gangbangers, that's the highlight. I mean, we had 9 billionaires, so it's kind of what I'm saying. You can't fight like that. You can't. You got to have a same level of weight class. You know what I'm saying? You've been at 15, you've been at 5, smart. No.
I can divide.
Yeah, I could divide.
Shout out to Smokey.
I could divide. Know what I'm saying? I could divide, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's not even comparable. But
talking about me, really talking through you.
Might have some smoke for bro later. I don't know. It just depends. But man, I want to talk about before we bring our guest on, 3 levels of wealth. Yeah. So it was actually interesting timing because we did the article with CNBC a couple weeks ago, but it came out a few days after you posted what you posted. So you posted something that got a lot of traction on social media. And then a few days later, CNBC dropped the article with us when I said that I thought that 10 million was the number for financial freedom. I believe your number was higher than that. So, the crazy thing is I put it on Instagram and then the people was like, well, this lacks context. I'm like, well, that's the point of reading the article. But people don't read. So we will provide some context here if people are interested. So what's your 3 levels of wealth situation?
The video was very simple. If you're between, it was a scale. So if you in the level of 1 to 10, you were essentially deemed poor, according to the lady in the video. If you were 10 to 20, you were middle class. And if you were 21 to 30, you were wealthy. And the thing that I took away from the video is that those that are in the poor working class, they use their labor to generate cash. The system is designed by purpose. The middle class uses their ideas to generate money. And then the wealthy use derivatives to generate with their wealth. And they make money off the backs of both. So derivatives would be like a crypto exchange, a stockbroker exchange, even stocks. If you look at what the formation of owning other parts of a company, you're not doing anything really labor intensive to generate that capital. Yes, you have to go through the IPO cycle, but it's just different levels. When I first came on, I said you needed 28 million and everyone had an uproar. But I was talking to people who helped make some of these rules for how much people get paid and how much is deemed worthy. I keep saying, as soon as we got into Turo, Airbnb, real estate, stocks, inflation went up and it drove down the value of our dollar. So you need a certain amount of money to be safe. I know for those of you who may hear these numbers, you may be like, man, I don't even have 100,000 yet. Use it as inspiration. That's what we all did. When I was seeing people making 30 million a year, when Eachwan, shout out to Eachwan from my hometown. When he went to the league, I was so excited to see somebody from my hometown make that kind of money. And when KK went to the Panthers, I was like, yo, if somebody from the Harvard can do this, I know I can do it. Don't let the numbers dismay you or dissuade you from trying to achieve your goals. Use it as motivation to get. But yeah, I agree. You need at least 10 million to hit a point of freedom if you want to be able to take care of your children, your wife, other family members, help be a good steward in your community. It takes a lot more money than ever. I can't find a used car for 10 grand right now. I'm actively looking just to see how much they've changed the used car market in 2 years. I was talking to Ish this morning. A Honda Accord costs 30 grand used. Damn. A Honda Accord. What? So if you go get a C-Class, S-Class, G-Wag, they're driving these costs up to make up for what they lost during the pandemic. The game's not going to be fair. Inflation is always going to go up, and this is why you need more, and this is why you need to invest in the market so you can outpace inflation. So those are the 3 levels that are really key.
Yeah, and notice that what's happening. I'm glad you brought up the car market because I was, shopping for cars. During the pandemic and years after, the first year after there was a shortage, right? It was a supply chain thing. We couldn't get the technology, we couldn't get the semis in, and so you started getting cars without power windows, cars without power seats. Some of the functions inside weren't there, and now that's not the issue. But now you have rates that aren't going down for the near future, and so businesses are going to find ways to make sure that their win is built in at any cost,
at all costs,
at any and the person that is going to be put at sacrifice of it is going to be the customer. So
absolutely,
when you go into these situations, just know that, and if you're building a business, know that, right? These are lessons, right? We're talking about even at a 750. Actually, my credit was like 795. And the rate, the rate is what it is. It's 7%. It's 7.5. I'm like, wow. So the person that has a 650, what are they getting? 9%, 10%, right? Yeah. And you're talking about people that are financing cars 5 years. So it's going to, I don't know how many people are into refinancing cars. You can do it, but not many people do it.
Not many people do it. And I think the highest you can charge for a car is what, 16%? That's insane.
That's incredible. That's a lot.
That's insane.
5 years.
It adds up. And then she gonna tell you, no, we ain't going to cheesecake. Inflation on the dates.
We gotta talk about.
No, why is she getting this bad rap though, bro?
But I want to talk about this 10 million thing if we can.
Before
we go to cheesecake, because a lot of people didn't fully understand it. So when we did the interview with CNBC, and the reporter asked us, what do we think the number was for financial freedom? And I said that I thought, depending on a variety of different factors, where you live, but if you live in a major urban environment or a suburban environment close to an urban environment, East Coast, West Coast scenario, you would probably need $10 million to have financial freedom.
That's a fact.
Then he responded back and he said, well, do you think that this is realistic for most people? And I said, no, it's not. But you asked me a question, so I'm just going to be honest with the answer that I'm giving you, right? Now, the whole point of we're big on entrepreneurship, we're big on investing, we're big on understanding. So, yeah, the average person is not going to reach $10 million in investable assets. But if you're on a pathway to work towards that, you might reach $1 million. You might reach 1.5 million. You might reach 900,000. Guess what? That's better at 70 years old than having $20,000. You're not going to be able to
hit that at the park. Yep.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to fly private around the world, but you're going to be in a better situation. See, a lot of people never actually did this for a living. I actually did this for a living for 12 years. So I know what it is to see somebody who's 68 years old with $50,000 coming into your office asking you, what can I do? And you got to be the person to tell them nothing.
I can't do anything.
This is but you never had all these people on social media that's commenting on this, they never had that conversation. Also, these people on social media that's saying like, well, I only need 1 million and I'm gonna be fine. Well, that's great. But the vast majority of people have never made 1 million. Let me tell you something. $1 million is a scary number. From 1 to 3 million is actually extremely scary, because when you're below $1 million, you don't really care. It's like you're just hustling and you don't really have nothing to lose. But when you get to $1 million, you realize that you're technically, quote unquote, rich, especially where we come from, but you're a few steps away from being broke. And
rich broke, Dr. Duval. Yep.
No, it's actually extremely scary.
Yep.
And you end up losing sleep about it, because it's like nobody wants to be the person that is seen as a failure, somebody that lost everything. So now you're kind of walking on eggshells, because you know that that's not enough, right? But you're a millionaire, so you already beat the odds. But you'll never experience that until you actually experience it. This is when we talked to Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban told us, like, nah, $1 million, I'd be scared. If I was a millionaire, I'd be scared.
Rick Ross too?
What number did Ross say? If he had it, he would be terrified.
10. He said 10. He said at least
at 10 he's scared.
10.
But
I just want to finish this. So the whole
I want to add context to you.
I just want to just finish the whole thing. But so when I'm saying financial freedom is, what I'm saying is the ability to live off of your investments to be able to do whatever you want to do to stop today. Now, of course, that's different for different people, but it's not meant to discourage people. It's meant to tell the truth. So if we're in an environment where inflation is at record-breaking highs, right? The dollar is losing value all the time. We understand that housing prices just continues to go up no matter what happens in the economy. The price of education, nobody talks about the price of education inflation.
Oh my God.
Yes. You want to talk about spending $200 to go to InvestFest. How about spending $75,000 to go to a school that you can't get a degree from, that you can't get a job from after you get a liberal arts degree?
For 1 year.
Or $20,000 in high school.
Yes. So when, I mean, do you want me to lie to you? Or do you want me to tell you the truth? Because I can lie to you, but that's not going to be beneficial. So it's outcries and outrage on social media. Well, it's not beneficial because me just sugarcoating something, like I've actually seen the inner workings of it. I've seen that $1 million is not enough. I've seen people with $20,000. I've seen people with 10 million. I've seen billionaires. I've saw every different level and have conversations with people at every different level. So to be completely honest with you, I'm kind of lowballing it at 10 million.
If we want to get to the honest number,
to be completely
60,
honest,
I just want to use 10 million because I'm going to show you the level of consistency. And this was really a kudos to you. At 18, my only goal was to have a 6-figure job in life. Like I was like, if I make 6 figures, because I hadn't seen anybody do it. When I was 26, and at this point, you had just started your career in financial advising. You sat me down. I got my life insurance, and I asked you the number. And the number you told me when I was 26, so that means you were 24. You told me it was $10 million. I said, why? Why is it 10 million? This is 15 years ago. I said, why are you saying 10 million? You were like, look, if you can make 10 million, we can put it in a fund, a mutual fund, and that can garnish you 3% on the conservative end.
Muni bond,
right? Yep. And you were like, look, you can garnish 3%. So if you get 3%, you're not even doing anything. But if you can make 3%, you've made 300,000. So if you're looking at 100,000 as a thing that you were making as a teacher, now imagine that you have additional 200,000 on that. You can't live off 300,000. And at that moment, I was like, yo, it's got to be 10 million. It's got to be 10 million. And I'm just saying at that point, and this is 15 years ago, I'm like, all right, this makes sense. And so it was like, how do I get to the 10 million so that I can live with a conservative 3% to garnish 300,000 just by investing? I'm like, oh, wait, that makes perfect sense. So 10 million was my number. But then again, when we sat down, I said it could be 8 figures, it could be 7 figures. It just depends on your threshold and where you're at and what your leisure is, like what your freedom is. But it's going to change for everybody. But it gives context because when you said 10 million during the interview, and then when I read the article again, it made me think back to that moment. Yeah, with 10 million was the number then. It was a number then.
Listen, you can either get the truth or we can gatekeep. We're going to choose to tell the truth. I told y'all 2 years ago, or no, a year ago, when we met with Kyrie. Kyrie's like, I don't have enough money for my tribe. I'm like, it's public record what you make. It's not enough for me and all of my family I'm going to take care of. That's when I said, oh, shit, let me really get to work. If he's concerned, and at the time he was top 10 in pay, how can you rest on your laurels and be like, I'm good? And we've also seen some people be up, and then it comes down because they get comfortable. We're going to tell you the truth at all costs. And I know it may be scary, but like I said, use that number as motivation to find a way to get there. Or you're going to have to pay the penalty when you get older. And if you have $20,000 in your elder years, I've seen this happen with my grandmother. The healthcare system is going to find a way to claw $100,000 at a time out of you with surgery and prescription medications. I know a bunch of people right now that's paying $1,000 a month for a prescription they really can't afford. Then you have surgery, insurance doesn't cover all of it. Now you got to pay 30, 40 grand out of pocket. Trust me. At every level of life and wealth, they're going to find a way to get money out of you. Please take the information and apply it, and don't be outraged at it, because the outrage doesn't help any at all.
And then the last thing I'll say before we bring on our guests is that we're not going to be revisionists here. We're not going to rewrite history. I did see some comments like, well, nobody ever tells us how to get there. We're not going to act like Earn Your Leisure has not been around for 5 years. Market Mondays has been around for 3.5, 4 years, where we provide weekly information on Market Mondays, how to start investing into the stock market, how to invest in ETFs, how to invest in index funds, how to invest in stock options, how to pick tech stocks, how to do all this stuff. And we're not going to act like we didn't have 1,000,001 episodes on real estate, on credit, on Airbnb business, on
dropshipping, vending machines,
anything that you can really think of.
Only thing y'all didn't cover was OnlyFans. Y'all covered everything else.
Like,
come on, man.
If you haven't received the information yet, it's because you're not interested in you're not interested. So what we can't do, what we're not going to do is rewrite history and play the victim. Yep. You'll never say that you wasn't provided the information. Now, you can say that you didn't act on the information for whatever reason. You can say that you disregarded the information. You didn't take the information serious.
Or you listen to the wrong people.
Yeah, but we're not going to sit here and say that information is not, and it's still currently being provided for you for free.
Hello. Hello.
So,
hello.
I get the most complaints about charging on Monday when we do the show for free every Monday.
Hello.
Make it make sense.
And Vladimir, that's the one thing. That's the one thing. Cause
let's get to it. No. We're gonna get to it. No.
How are you going?
Well, I'm gonna talk about just one thing because he was like, they charge for information. His people that's similar to him have a history of trying to rewrite history, especially when it comes to Black people. So we're not going to let Vladimir rewrite history. Vladimir, if you're not familiar with the platform, we have put out more free information than anybody in probably recorded history when it comes to investing, financial literacy, and like real details. No motivation, inspiration, actual steps, how to. This is why people in the comments didn't even respect what you said, because it's not even factually true. So if you are going to critique something, then it has to actually be true outside of you're just repeating narratives that you just heard over and over again. So to say like we gatekeeping information, that's stupid. You're talking about you gave information to little Bibby. We give information.
Call Charlemagne and ask what I did.
Like, what
are we talking about?
How is freeing Larry Hoover a Black?
That's how far we go.
And you ain't sent no money to Larry.
No. First, before we do that, I want to give a shout out to ACT for that moment. We got to shout out to ACT because he stopped.
No, I mean, he did the right thing.
He did the right thing.
Sure. He held his composure.
Exactly.
But let's talk about this after, because I want to bring our guest.
But just shout out to ACT for that.
I just want to say, Vladimir.
We're not done with you. We're not done with him.
We're not going to let the Vladimirs of the world rewrite, because I do know the Vladimir Tenev. He's a billionaire.
The real Vlad.
The real Vlad. Yes, he's a billionaire.
You're mad we'll call Putin too. Quit playing.
On the Starlink.
You never. It's funny till it's not.
It's funny till it's not. It is funny till it's not. Okay, can you introduce our guest, please?
Oh man, let's bring him up.
I didn't want to have him endure the nonsense.
Yeah. What's going on, brother?
What's good, fellas?
So
good to see you, brother.
I want to introduce you the right way because it's very important, and you're very important. We met a few months ago through a mutual friend, and you were introduced as one of the most brilliant minds in the world, and a guy who worked at Nvidia. But the story is so much deeper than that. You are the world's leading artificial intelligence scientist. Did I get this correct? Okay, so I did get it correct, and we're actually going to stand on that. And I think it's important that you're here today because I want the people to see what brilliance looks like. I want them to see what intelligence looks like, but I also want them to see the capabilities of what we can do inside of the world of technology, specifically in artificial intelligence. And so, yes, you were at Nvidia. I know right now that you are working with the Jeff Bezos Foundation as the lead scientist for AI. When you talk about a person in this world who's actually sat with Jensen and sat down with Jeff, there are few and far between, and definitely not many people that look like us. So I wanted to welcome you to Market Mondays. Outside of just having great conversations with you, I know Ian and I had some conversations with you.
Yeah.
I wanted you to welcome you to our audience so they can get some of the brilliance that I've been able and have privileged to have over the past couple of months. So welcome to Market Mondays, my brother. We are happy to have you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I was at InvestFest, man, mind blown. So I got a small snippet of your audience and the community that you guys have been building. It's absolutely.
And you spoke at InvestFest, right?
Yeah, That's right.
So we don't just have celebrities that just talk about motivation. Who knew? Who knew?
The world's leading scientist in artificial intelligence.
Oh,
wow.
Man. Okay. So let's talk about this. Well, first and foremost, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
So you were working at, I think when we first met, you were working at Nvidia, right?
Yeah.
What were you doing at Nvidia?
So my title was senior principal scientist, primarily. So prior to joining Nvidia, I was the chief analytics officer for the city of New York. So I really did a lot of my data and AI work in the urban space within city and environments. And so I got to reach out from Jensen and said, hey, look, we want to bring your skill sets into Nvidia. So a lot of my focus at Nvidia was on how we use AI and supercompute in cities to solve a lot of the complex, intractable challenges in cities. Nvidia, now, if you want to think about from a product perspective, there's two products at Nvidia that primarily functioned with. And so you have the Nvidia supercompute, which they refer to as superpods as the base infrastructure, but then there was two products. One was Rapids, which was like an advanced data science platform and AI platform. And then the other is more well-known, which is Omniverse, which is their digital twin technology, where they do physics-based simulations and 3D viewing of anything in the world. So I primarily functioned in that space, worked with cities globally, worked with urban environments globally to implement AI and supercompute.
All right. So I know you started at Motorola and then you were at Nvidia, but you're not there anymore. And one of the conversations we had was about the correlation between college athletics in the world of tech, in the sense of when you're really good at something, people are always trying to find you as the next talent. Can you explain that to the audience of how the tech world has a correlation to college sports?
Yeah, I think there's two. That's such a great question. I think there's two ways you want to look at that. The first one is in Silicon Valley, and I spent time not only with Nvidia, but at a startup engaging in and around Silicon Valley. In Silicon Valley, they don't, if you're at a company, if you're a tech genius, giant, even halfway decent at Silicon Valley, if you stay at a company more than 2 years, you basically are seen as somebody who's garbage, like passé, because they're constantly looking for the best of the best. And they will do anything to pull you from one company to another. You've seen it in biopics, whether it's the WeWork biopic or Uber's biopic. Success of a company is taking the best talent from other companies and bringing it to your companies. And oftentimes it causes drama because, they got to do backhanded deals and so on and so forth. But they're always looking for the top company. So you're always looking to be the best. And the other way I would put it, and so I spent a couple of years, I was faculty at Johns Hopkins, research scientist at Johns Hopkins for a while. And I spent 2 years teaching it in Hong Kong at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And I used to, when I was faculty there, I used to go around and go to a lot of the tech companies. And one of the CEOs of a tech company was like, yo, we recruit some of the top scientists from around the world to come and work for our company. But what we do is, I said, well, how difficult is that? He said, well, it's not that difficult because they're all 7th and 8th graders. So what they do is they actually begin scouting you the same way you think about AAU. It is the same way they think about scientists. They start at 7th and 8th grade and they start grooming you to come to China. And what they do is they put you into their universities. And then the pipeline is right into their companies. And his thing is like, look, we bring the best of the best over and we start looking at them and we go to science fairs at 7th and 8th grade and we bring them over. If they don't come to our company, they still are what's referred to as friendly alumni to the universities in China. And so he's like, it's a win-win for China in general in terms of bringing the intellectual capital over. But they treat science and scientists the same way we treat sports players. And I got one more anecdote. So when I was at Hong Kong, I was at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, one of the most beautiful college campuses in the world. And they have this dope soccer field that almost looks like it's sliding off into the water. And we used to go and play soccer all the time, basketball, football, whatever, but mostly football, soccer. And there was one dude that was nice. Like I've rarely seen football players like that. He was nice. And he was in my class, and I went up and I was like, yo, do you play for the national soccer team? He was like, football team. He was like, nah, because in my family and in my culture, it's actually more honorable to be a computer scientist than to play sports. So he was like, I'm actually winning more that I'm a computer science major at college than I would if I played sports in the national team. So there's a lot of similarities there.
For those who are aspiring to go on your path, Nvidia's been one of my favorite stocks for the last 2 years, but it's really taken off this past year. For those of us that are black and brown that want to make it into these tech power players, what would be your process if you have to start over now for how to break into an Nvidia, and Apple, Microsoft, Bezos Foundation? What tips can you give us to help break into those landscapes that we are not often seen in?
Man, I don't know if my tips would be helpful, but I can share some of what I think. But that's such a great question. For me, my focus was always on the math of it all, the science of it all. Oftentimes what I've seen, and I went to all HBCUs. I went to Lincoln University undergrad, Howard University for my master's, and Morgan State for my doctorate. And I stayed at all HBCUs, but what I saw was a lot of my friends and colleagues, they would come in and within the first couple of classes, shift out of the computer science realm into like business information systems or project management, those sort of non-math intensive, computational mathematics intensive programs. Companies like Motorola, when I was at Motorola Labs, so I was a research scientist there. My primary research over there was when Bluetooth was being invented. I was a part of that team. I had 3 patents there. It wasn't just me. It was a group of us, and we all got our names on those patent disclosures. But the reason why I was able to go to Motorola Labs, which is the research arm of Motorola, and work on the projects that I did was because I had a math background. And so staying strong in the math background, and literally at the Bezos Earth Fund is the least technical that I've ever been in my career. That the reason why so I had an hour-long interview, as Troy, you mentioned. Part of my interview process was an hour-long one-on-one interview with Jensen. And one of the things I requested in that interview was I didn't want to be a VP. I didn't want to have the title VP. I wanted to have a technical title because I wanted to remain very technical. And so senior principal scientist at Nvidia is the technical equivalent to a VP at Nvidia. I was like, I want all the equity that a VP gets, but not the title. But I was deliberate in staying in the math and lane and in the math space. To this day, I still program. I do a lot of programming with my son and some personal projects, but to this day, I still focus on computational work.
So, all right, so let's get into this. So, for where are we headed with artificial intelligence? Like, where is this headed? We talked about a variety of different things in the past, but I want to hear from your perspective as somebody that's doing it and has done it for a while. Where are we at right now as far as like, is this the infancy stages, and where do you expect it to be in 10 years from now? Yeah. That's a good question. I think that's such a important question today. Yeah, it's just this morning, the White House just released its executive order on AI. And I spent some time, I saw it prior to, but I spent some time digging through it this past weekend. And, it's going to challenge innovation as most regulation tends to do. So I think 6 months ago to a year ago, the trajectory may be different if a lot of these regulations that just came out through this executive order take hold. But that aside, let's assume, which is the case, that federal regulations take
a long time to even have any impact or effect. But let's answer your question straight away. I think if you look at the different domains that are using AI, what you're going to wind up seeing are a few domains where it's most impactful, and then you'll begin to see some domains where it's least impactful. And so domains like health is where you're going to see AI really take off. Regulations and everything aside, but because those regulations from the health space have been built in, you'll see it take off there. You'll see AI take off in the defense space, aerospace. You'll see a lot of AI in the personal engagement space. That is sort of building out this concept. And you guys have talked about it on your shows, like this concept of sort of your own personal chief of staff, your own personal senior advisor, your own personal scheduler. You're going to see a lot of AI in that space. What I will say, I'll just say two things, Rashad, to your points, sort of ancillary points to your statement and your question. So why have, my doctoral dissertation was on artificial intelligence. At the time, it was referred to as autonomous agents. AI has been around for a long time. Even large language models have been around for decades. This is nothing new. What's the excitement? So to answer your question around trajectory, you have to kind of see, well, what captured the imagination of the world at this moment in time? And what captured the imagination from ChatGPT was that what they figured out, and what our friends from OpenAI, who then left and went to Anthropic, which you guys have talked a lot about, figured out was, so you guys remember 5-10 years ago where everybody was talking big data, big data. It was like big data was the big fancy word of the day, big data, big data. What we found out then was that the more data you pour into an algorithm, you only get incremental at a certain point. It's like the point of diminishing returns. It only gets your solution only gets incrementally better. Doesn't matter how much more data you pour into an algorithm, it's not going to have a smarter insight or a smarter solution. What we figured out was that if we grew exponentially, doubled, tripled, quadrupled the size of compute, that your answers had a linear correlation. Your insights from that model, from that algorithm, had a linear correlation to the size of the compute, meaning if you double the compute, you were twice as likely to have a more accurate prediction. If you quadruple the compute, 4x times the accuracy of your predictions. And so hence the AI wars, right? So now you saw everyone, hence why Nvidia's stock skyrocketed, because they were like, we've got to buy up everything, because everybody knew the more compute we put. So this theorem was that the more compute we put, the more accurate our stuff will be. And so what you're going to see, so that's the name of the game, right? Is scale. And so what you're going to see is more accurate solutions, more accurate capability beyond ChatGPT. ChatGPT is one sliver of the AI story. That's a chatbot. It's some people refer to it as a stochastic parrot. It's one capability. There's tons of capabilities. Researchers in Netherlands for the first time raced drones upwards of accelerations of 5G for the first time. An all AI drone won that race, right? And so that is the result of accelerated compute and supercompute power being brought to these models. So it's essentially, Rashad, it's sky's the limit right now. The prevailing wisdom is the more compute you bring to the table, the smarter whatever it is you're trying to do will be.
Yeah, and that could become something dangerous, right? The smarter it becomes, the less we have over control of it. So you brought up the term AI wars. So let's talk about the AI wars. You see these companies, you brought up OpenAI. they've partnered with Microsoft. We've seen Amazon and Anthropic. We see Nvidia working with all of them. We see Foxconn. Where are we with the AI wars? Obviously, there's a geopolitical undertone to it, right? As we see Nvidia being capped on what they can sell to China putting bans on certain American companies. Where are we at? What are the solutions? Are more foundries, which are where chips are being created, the solution in America? What are you taking on the landscape?
Yeah, that's such a big question, Troy, and it's got to be tackled. And so a couple of things, really in a cheeky fashion, I'll say, you want to think about this the way you think about, and I used to, way back in the day when I was in grad school, I used to have a Hotmail that was undercover nerd at hotmail.com. So I'm an undercover nerd, so I love me some Star Wars. So what I would tell you is you want to think about it the way you think about the Sith. They come in pairs, right? So you always have the master, and then you have the trainee, if you will, or whatever, right? So the way you want to think about this is Microsoft paired up with OpenAI. That part of that partnership is we will provide you the compute and the infrastructure for you to do your magic, right? Mm-hmm. Now look at Anthropic. Who's Anthropic's partner? Amazon, right? So they said up to $4 billion. They didn't say $4 billion in cash. It was like up to $4 billion they kept it really nebulous, meaning that they're going to make sure that they have access to their compute, because Amazon is now investing in building their own GPUs, Inferentium and Trainium, which are relatively inauthentic titles for their GPU chips. And then you have Inflection.ai, which is one that I'm keeping an eye on. It hasn't hit a lot of the buzz that Anthropic and OpenAI has, but keep an eye on Inflection.ai, which is founded by Mustafa Suleyman, who was the founder of Google DeepMind. So remember what I told you at the beginning, you always follow the rock stars. Where the rock stars go, it's like, remember back in the day when Premier got on a record with somebody, you knew that record was going to be hot, right? That's how you want to think about these rock stars in the AI and the Silicon Valley space. Where they go, you follow them because something is happening. So Inflection AI is partnered with Google. So one, you want to follow those partners. And what do we know about all of the big brothers in those partners? They all are infrastructure companies, right? And they all are infrastructure companies. And then Anthropic, OpenAI, and Inflection.ai are all platform companies. So now you're marrying infrastructure and platform. And then you want to think about Nvidia. Nvidia's like everybody could cop, right? Like we sell into everybody. Now folks are going to go on their own at some point. Even OpenAI is really cagey about whether or not they're going to get into the GPU space. And so that goes to your point around the fabs, right? So where Joe Biden's White House, the administration passed the Chips and Science Act a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half or so ago, which pumped $62 billion into this space. But that's a paltry amount compared to what needs to be done for US to step up and really be a player in chip making. But it's doing its job, which is it's greasing the skids, it's getting the party started. So you're going to see a lot more players jump in from an infrastructure standpoint. And when you have more infrastructure, you're going to have more platform capability as well. So it's right now, the Chips and Science Act is feeding the frenzy. The infrastructure entities are feeding the frenzy. And so, we'll sit back and see over the next few months who comes out ahead.
Who do you think, well, tell me what applications do you see in the military and defense space for AI? Because, of course, we have a geopolitical issue with all the wars. But I think one of the areas that's been most underdeveloped at scale has been our defense. What applications do you see there? And what are your thoughts on China's desire to take over Taiwan and capture TSM? All
right. So a couple of things. really important things that you mentioned there. So on the defense side, I think where we're struggling right now is on cybersecurity. So remember, we not only have to be on the offensive, we have to be on the defensive as well with respects to attacks, right? And so we're creating, we need to create capabilities on both ends, both to be a cybersecurity threat to an adversary, but then protect the home when it comes to cybersecurity. I mean, there is so much space there. Innovation has stymied for a short while, and now with AI, I think there is a lot that can be done and should be done in this space. And so, what you'll see in part of the new federal executive order that came out is that there's this hiring strategy that they're implementing not only internally, but from abroad as well, opening it up so that we can do better in the cybersecurity and cyber threat space. I think that's the best that I can do. What little bit I do know, I'm not sure how much I can share, but a lot of that stuff is behind closed spaces. I think now, with respect to China, I have to say I'm not thoughtful or smart enough to comment on that. What I will say is, with the CHIPS and Science Act, and with a lot of stuff that America has been doing since the Obama administration and has followed all the way through to now, we are making ourselves less and less dependent on Taiwan and TSMC. Okay. And so I think the last conversation I had on this with someone that I thought was really thoughtful and smart here, we were 3 to 5 years away from really feeling comfortable that everything would collapse if China did invade Taiwan. But if China were to invade Taiwan tomorrow, a lot of tech companies, a lot of companies, period, in the U.S. would be in a world of hurt. I think we've been slow to move ourselves out of that dependency, but the urgency is there, and we're ramping up.
So, let me ask you this: as far as the chips, it's been a shortage of chips. So they said it's been a shortage of chips for a long time. For the average person, can you just explain, like, why are chips so important, and why is there such a shortage of chips? Because it's like, if they could be made, it's not like a vegetable that has to grow in the ground, right? If you can make a chip, why is there shortages of chips? Why don't they just make more chips?
Yeah, no, another good question. Like, once I started at Nvidia, I had spent a lot of time digging into this, because for that same reason, it's like, well, what are the challenges here? So in short, and I can talk to why the chips are so important as well, but in short, the reason why these fabs are important and why they're so expensive, one is that they're humongous operations, absolutely gargantuan efforts, process, structures, and everything in order to build chips in the right way. And so, you can't just stand up a fab and then just go next door and then stand up another one. There is a whole lead time and capability there. The second is that Taiwan has that we didn't have and are starting to build is the pipeline of intellectual capability and intellectual capital to work on these chips. So you're right, Rashad, in that a chip is a physical thing, and there is a blueprint to building a chip. And we've been doing that for a while. I started my career at Motorola. We've been building chips. Motorola, many don't know this, but Motorola used to be the processor inside of Apple's, right? Mm-hmm. So we've been building chips. America has been building chips. But what happened was, I'm showing my age, but when I was at Motorola, we were doing a lot of the chip development here. We moved that abroad because we wanted to, we turned our gaze on other capability on the software side. And so we said, let's outsource the hardware side. Let's push that out to, and let Taiwan have it. What they wound up building are universities, research institutions, and other capabilities that support chip making. So you have to have the intellectual capital and the intellectual environment. It's just like any large company. No large company just decides to move to a location just because, you know what, it seems like there's going to be a nice view out the window, right? They look at what universities are there, what high schools are there, what's the graduation rate across in the pipeline here, because they want that talent to be groomed and grown. What sort of, are you just all liberal arts universities, or are there a lot of tech majors in these universities? That's what companies think about. And so when you look at Taiwan has the whole ecosystem. So we have to create the ecosystem from the bottom up. So it's not just the physical chips, the development, it's also the intellectual capital in order to build the best chips and to compete.
So, that's kind of one of those things where when we see reports that we see TSM, they're building their foundries in Arizona, and it's costing $20 billion. But one of the things that I think you and I discussed, and maybe Ian, you were part of that conversation as well, is the American companies that are doing it. And so obviously we see Nvidia, but we see companies like Global Foundries and having these fabs. So for those not in the know, fabs are where these chips are made, but it's a long process and it's an expensive process. We're talking tens and 20s of billions of dollars to build the factory, which probably takes 5 to 6 years, then getting the machinery and then finding the infrastructure that goes inside that. Right. But I want to go back to, you said you were at Nvidia, and this is one of the things that really stuck with me when we spoke was how many Black employees were at Nvidia when you were there? Let's start there.
Yeah. So I'm going to put it like this. When I started, there were 17,000 employees at Nvidia globally. When you're talking about African American, because we have a presence in Africa, but when you're talking about African American, it was less than 50 at the time that I started. I think it's a little over 100, maybe 120 or so now. Might be a little bit more since I left. Yeah. Last I checked. But it was less than 50, far less than 50, like an astonishing number lower than 50. But I don't want to say an exact number because then someone could refute that exact number. But I'm telling you, it was a bizarre amount of African Americans.
I preface that question because it speaks to kind of the, we've had these conversations around solutions for the future. And one of them is having us being in the tech world, right? Obviously, we're doing our part as far as finance, and many others are helping along the way to get more of us in these fields that, there's a lack thereof. And so I want you to talk about having us really finding our way and finding methods in studies to be in tech, specifically, obviously in AI, which is something of the future, the importance of it. Because there's at one point, I recall you were at Nvidia and trying to give out these supercomputers to New York City, but you didn't have anybody to give it to because there wasn't anybody that was educated in the space. So talk about that.
Yeah, no. So I don't even know where to start with your question. It's such a big point and question mark for our community. But let me start from that point that you ended with, which was, so when I was at Nvidia, and Nvidia is like Apple. I mean, they don't give away anything. There's no, they don't give nothing away. And that, Jensen never gave money, donations. I don't know what he does personally, but I mean, as a Nvidia, people come and organizations come and say, hey, if you give 50,000, you can be a part of this effort to do blah, 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 blah. It was always like a no. So we never gave anything away. But I had gotten my hands on long story short, I got my hands on 4 DGXs, which 4 DGXs connected together with the right networking environment is a supercomputer. It has the capability and the power of a supercomputer. And so I was given the green light to donate that to a city of my desire. And I started to think about where could we put this? I wanted to put these not with a city government. I wanted to put them with organizations within the city. And I wanted to put them in a city where there was HBCUs, and people from the community can use this supercompute. I had no luck, zero luck, right? Wound up having to put them they're at Cornell Tech right now. That's where they landed. My only two options was NYU and Cornell Tech in New York City. And then being able to get people from the community to use them is a whole nother capacity building exercise. And so we realize how far behind we are in utilizing supercompute. So there's a pipeline, and this is getting to what you're talking about. And you guys have talked about this a lot. There's a pipeline that I see in this AI space. And this is a fairly high level pipeline. It probably can be broken down to more atomic parts. There's a pipeline, and the pipeline is this. There's infrastructure, and that's your Nvidia's, that's going to, that's your ARM, Qualcomm, Amazon, Microsoft, those folks. That's infrastructure. Then you have your platform companies, right? Google plays in the platform space as well as in the infrastructure space, right? Nvidia is moving aggressively into the platform space. So you have all of these platform companies. OpenAI is a platform company that is considering becoming an infrastructure company. So, there's this, but there's infrastructure, platform, and then there is users, consumers of these AI products. So when we talk about our community, we are over-indexed, woefully over-indexed on the user side. We always talk about, how did you use ChatGPT? How did you use Bard? How did you use Claude 2? So on and so forth, as opposed to how are people using what we've built? And so there are reasons, structural reasons, infrastructure reasons, academic reasons. The ecosystem has to exist for us to play in this space. And so it's very challenging. So it's really difficult to have a supercomputer and go to a community and say, you have access to about $2.5 million worth of compute, period, point blank, on the street. And that was when the stock was at one something. That was before it popped. People were looking at me when the stock popped and no one could get any DGXs or any GPUs. They were looking at me like, yo, why don't you bring those back, right? Because right now there's like a 9-10 month lead time to even get any of those DGXs, of which 4 of them I gave to New York City. But I had $2.5 million worth of supercompute power, and you couldn't convince people from our community to use them for a lot of reasons. It's not their fault, but it helped shine light on the environment that we're in.
I feel like after crypto may have taken a tumble, all of a sudden AI got hot. Do you think that we are in an AI bubble with every venture capitalist trying to deploy capital to AI startups, or do you think we're just now seeing like the golden age and it's only going to get bigger as time goes on?
Yeah. You guys are asking all of the right questions here. I don't know that I have all of the right answers. But what I will say is, I don't know that we're in a bubble. But I will say we're definitely in a hype cycle. Right? Okay. We're definitely in a hype cycle. Altman is playing a role in that. Elon is everyone is playing a role in this hype cycle, just ginning up this energy around AI. I think with respects to a bubble, to directly answer your question, with respects to a bubble, I just don't know, because let me equate it to the gold rush in the 1800s, right? That's the way I think about it. And some people have used this analogy. Let me use this analogy. Remember what they said about the gold rush. They said the people who sold the shovels, the people who sold the axes, Levi's and Strauss created itself because of the gold rush. It was the infrastructure people that made more money. Wells Fargo as a bank was literally created by two men, Wells and Fargo, because of the gold rush. So it's the people who had support of the effort that actually all prospered. very few of the 300,000 people that moved west to be a part of the gold rush really took advantage. So what we're seeing now is actually not so much of a bubble, because we're not seeing these startups, all of these small startups just get money out the wazoo. We're seeing the infrastructure companies grow. Now, I would say because of the hype, the infrastructure companies are all buying GPUs and buying tech. So we're seeing the infrastructure companies grow. I think once we get into the bubble is when you see, Joe's Shrimp Shack Emporium getting $4 million to do an AI version of a point of sale system, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
That's when you're like, okay, we've jumped the shark here. But I think that we're in a hype cycle. And then the last thing I'll say to this is, the same way as the .com bubble, it was a big crash. I was at Motorola at the time, and it was a big crash during the .com bubble. But what we didn't know was the pervasiveness by which the internet would be in the future, right? Yeah. So while there was a bubble and a crash, the internet not only got bigger, but it became more pervasive. Good luck buying a car now that's not connected to the internet. Good luck buying anything electronic that's not connected to the internet. I think the same thing is going to happen with AI. Like, there will be a bubble. There will be a bubble, and there will be a crash, but AI will exist as one of the more pervasive technologies.
Well, we want to thank you for coming. Appreciate your time. Before you leave, can you just talk about what your current position is? And you're working with Jeff Bezos, right? Foundation. So, yeah, what does that entail?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it was my pleasure. I enjoyed this conversation. So I'm the head of AI and data at the Bezos Earth Fund. The Bezos Earth Fund is a $10 billion impact investment fund that Jeff Bezos stood up. You guys interviewed Ann Jones, who got $100 million from that. And so what we think about is the decisive decade when it comes to climate and nature. So we think about climate and we think about nature conservation. And so across the board, there is a lot of, so we will only exist for the next 8 years now. So it's the decisive decade, 2020 to 2030. My job is across all of, energy innovation, decarbonization, agriculture, the built environment, all of these sectors, nature, biodiversity, all of these sectors that impact the world and impact the world that we're living in. My job is to think through the underpinning of AI, how AI and the innovations of AI will impact the work there. So my job is basically to bring AI to help solve climate and nature problems.
That's incredible.
Got the right guy.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, man. I'm sure we'll be in contact soon, and keep up the great work.
My pleasure. Thank you all. And same to you. Same to you all.
We need you back again. I appreciate you.
Anytime.
Appreciate you, man. We'll be in contact.
All right. Yes. Shout out to Alman.
Yeah, man. Very rare. Very rare.
Johnny Gill could never. Shout out to Johnny.
Though.
Smokey Robinson.
Do you think some of the stuff gets taken for granted? Like, I remember people weren't even comfortable going on podcasts speaking in urban vernacular. They'll whitewash themselves. Like, I think at a certain point, we got to appreciate some of these conversations.
Not for sure.
At scale. Like,
it's human nature. You start this, and once again, shout out to Vlad. I don't have anything against him. He's just a bozo, but shout out to him. But I think that it actually did provide a good talking point when he was like, yeah, they can never be on my level. I interviewed Johnny Gill and Smokey Robinson and Mike Tyson. But that's important that he said that, right? Because that gives us an opportunity to just remind people that we actually interviewed 9 billionaires. So it's almost impossible. Like, when you look at, okay, we're an independent media company that started 5 years ago, right? Yep. And in that time, we've interviewed 9 billionaires. This isn't backed by CNBC. This isn't backed by Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal. We don't have any underlining relationships that obligate people to have conversations with us. These are people that just willingly wanted to have conversations with us, right? Yeah. And these are billionaires from all walks of life, from entertainment industry all the way up to a high level of finance. So yeah, when people make ignorant statements like that, it allows you to remind people, because people have short-term memories. And once you have a high level of success on a continuing basis, then they devalue it. It's like giving somebody something. Like I just put a post up about that the other day. Unfortunately, the more you give somebody something, the more your gifts get devalued. They don't mean like when you first give somebody something, it's like
thank you, bro. Everything. Oh, you so solid.
Yeah. Now imagine if you give somebody something every single day. You give somebody something every single day, even if they're the best person in the world, they're not going to value it the same. But the 100th time, it's not gonna have the same appreciation, the same value, anything. That's the same with information. So like even like we've provided free information at the highest level possible for 5 years consistently every single day. At a certain point, it just gets diminished. It's not valuable anymore to people because they don't even see the value in it. They don't see like that is special. They take it for granted. They'll just find any little way to nitpick anything that's ever went wrong or make up false narratives like you pay for information. This is dumb. It's the dumbest thing in the world. You guys charge you hide your information behind a paywall. Bozo. We have 3,000 hours of information for free, but people say things like that because it's just, once again, it's a narrative that can just kind of just get convoluted and just get and get devalued because you've done so much work that at a certain point it doesn't hold the same value anymore. This is why the scarcity model is always best, where the Bitcoin is worth 30,000 because there's only a limited amount, right? Ripple is worth $1 because there's 3 billion of them. It's not the same. It's not the same. Like you're always going to have a higher appreciation for things that's limited in value as opposed to things that are too much in value.
And here's the crazy thing is I get that all the time. Ian charged $10K for Stock Club. How could he do that? It's $4.99 right now. The sales have never been the slowest. I can't wait to raise this price. And I don't want to hit nobody mouth. And two, I deserve to charge this much for the returns I've got. If I made you money, please put yes in chat. I'm still the only one worldwide who says it on every broadcast, and it always works. I wasn't promising 30% return in 6 months, even though I can get it. I wasn't doing that. That was them. So I'll say that to say, because I'm going to bring it back down, I appreciate what we have. And shout out to those of you who do. But for those who try to make those talking points, they do that because their bag's not right.
Yeah, and never in history, and that's the thing too. Never in history we sold out Royal Albert Hall in London, 3,000 people. Tough. Like never in history has what we like. So when people try, they just charging for information, they bringing celebrities on, like but nothing lasts forever. So when it's no longer here,
I was gonna say,
then you'll have an appreciation because you never really fully appreciate something until it's gone. So all right, don't make up a false narrative, make up lies. When the hate don't work, they start telling lies. So you can lie, you can discredit, you can take it for granted, you can try to minimize it. But eventually when it's over, because it will be over, eventually when it's over and we're no longer here, let's see what happens then.
Like come on 4 times
to you, Jack.
I leave dirty.
When it hits the fan, whether it's 2 years, 5 years, you'll never be able to say them boys lied to you, Jack.
Speaking about the right price,
it's a unique time. It's a unique time in history, and for anybody that's not taking advantage of it, this information age, especially for everything Rashad just said, shame on you. Shame on you.
I'll say this on y'all behalf too. Here's the number one reason y'all should keep interviewing celebrities: the numbers on the show. If everybody cared about information, we should be doing 300,000-400,000 easily. I got to get mixy and get salacious and make people hate me and shit to get the numbers up. Yo, I miss you, Rashad, fighting. What we going to fight about, Rashad? We got to make up something. WWE, they don't really get along. Yo, I see the energy and the vibe that change. And
see how you looked at him on stage?
Okay.
Heard how you cut him off right there?
And then one more thing about InvestFest. Like, once again, bozo. This is for any of the people that's discredited in InvestFest. Take the information out of it with people like Amon, who had nothing to do with anything other than just what he does for a living. We never in history, we gave an opportunity to 450 small businesses to make money. To actually, like, you talking about group economics. People just use this shit as a catchy word, group economics. What have you ever done to create any group economics? We brought 20,000 people to 450 business vendors. They spend money, let alone the food trucks. They spend money with Black-owned businesses over the course of 3 days. Now, what do you think that helps to stimulate the economy, right? Now, they can actually invest that money into their infrastructure and to buy more products and brand visibility, exposure.
And y'all don't take a cut off the back end, which I think is crazy.
And I was going to say, out of those 450 vendors, right, that have all sold out of everything they had, if they had a merchandise, if they had a product, they all sold out of it. How much of that do you think they took home? 100%. 100%, bro.
If it was Ian Fest, I'd get 50-50. I'd be on my Diddy.
100%, bro.
With you. Take that. Let me get that, bro. Thank you. Jesus, you sold a lot of books.
One of them, bro. 100% of it is there.
Yeah.
We're not even looking like it's here to help, right? If it was from a place of hey, we're trying to create business and generate revenue, yeah, that'd be different. But it's here to help. It's giving 450 businesses 20,000 eyeballs on them every day. We're talking 3 days, right? So we have a vendor marketplace that is open on Friday. We had thousands of people in there on a Friday. You got 20,000 people coming there on a Saturday. You got 20,000 people come over the course of 3 days. You got 50,000 people visiting your business. How many times is that going to happen throughout the year for your business?
From the vultures.
And yeah, I took your content because you was using it wrong. So you actually did have a decent clip and 5 years ago. And I did take it, and it was and I actually made the clip go viral. So you should actually thank me. And then of course you DM'd us 6 months ago asking us to come on Vlad TV and read it and left it on red because both you threatened to sue me over an Instagram post 5 years ago. Like you literally threatened. Like this is how like this is once again. This goes back to
that was left out of there was no context. That part of this conversation.
Listen,
bro, you threatened to sue me over an Instagram post. Like
it's happened to me too.
And then 5 years later, you act like it's all good. Like, hey, I would love to have you on my platform. No, you're a culture vulture, bro. You're not from our culture. You don't have no rights to anything. Like you talking about you advocating for Drake to speak on Jewish issues because he's Jewish. What I said was that you've never advocated for him to speak on black issues as a black man. His response, once again, I gave him a lot more credit for being intelligent. He's actually a bozo. His response was, well, I said that he supported Larry Hoover's concert.
Crazy.
Drake said himself that I did that for Jay Prince. Outside of that,
that's crazy.
Larry, but once again, this goes back to how a lot of people like him of his hue look at our culture. Even if they think they're helping our culture, he thinks that, and shout out to Larry Hoover and everybody in Chicago, but he thinks that once again, he thinks that Larry Hoover is a black issue. And he didn't even advocate for, he's saying, well, once again, let me explain to you what advocating is. Advocating is not saying, well, I said that Drake did this. Advocating is saying, yo, Drake, you should speak on police brutality more because you're black. You should speak on the wealth gap more because that's what you're doing with this Israel-Palestine situation, right? Not highlighting something that he's already done. That's not advocating for him to do something in addition to. And once again, you look at our culture as only thing that we can provide is gang violence, gang culture, and entertainment. This is why you only interview gang bangers and gang leaders, and you interview entertainers. And then you sprinkle it in with some random other stuff like Grant Cardone, stuff like that. But that's the value that you put on our culture. So you saying that Drake, he did a Free Larry Hoover concert. How is that a black issue?
It's not.
Now, like academics said intelligently, if you would have advocated for police brutality, if you would have advocated for mass incarceration, if you would have advocated for schools having better resources, now that's an issue that affects millions of black people. His response, well, Larry Hoover is a black leader, but you're so out of touch. And but the problem is that the black people have given him such leeway to do this nonsense for 30 years that he has so much confidence in himself that he could just speak freely. Vlad, you could never be on our level, bro. You've been in this for 5 years, 15 years. We've been in it for 5. We've talked to billionaires. We do shows with 20,000 people. They come back because there's value, not because it's just smoke and mirrors, bro. We're independent. We don't have to ask anybody. We don't have to build our platform based on people incriminating themselves. We don't have to build our platform based on nonsense interviews that add no value into the world. We've educated millions of people. You talking about you told stock tips to your close friends. Boy, Boy, you crazy. And bro, like this is a whole different level. Like the number one thing people will see, like say, what do you mean? It's like, yo, you're a lot taller when you like. I'm not an internet like personality. This is something that we just lucked up and got happened to be. You can't even show your face on camera. You think you would ever look me in the eyes? You out of your mind, Vladimir?
Talking about paywall, I hit him in 2020 to come on the show. He said, "Give me 10 grand." What Mark Cuban charges to come on the show?
Nothing.
Like, what about Dave Rubenstein?
Nothing.
What about Josh Brown or Frank?
There ain't no amount.
We never paid anybody to come on. We've never paid anybody to come on the platform, and nobody has ever paid to come on the platform. Once again, you guys can create any narrative that you want to create. But
what Mike Novogratz charged all them times he came on? Keep telling you that bag not, but boys get to talking that bag not right. I said about old boy. I went on buttons. Why you think he saying something? That bag not right.
And nobody can protect you from me saying whatever I want. I don't care how many industry friends you have. I don't care how many people you interview. Nobody can protect you from me saying whatever. You're a culture vulture, bro. Just embrace it. That's fine. Like there's a lane for you, because he said there's millions of people that watch his platform. So why would they watch it if there's no value? Because there's no value. That's exactly why they watch it. Obviously, there's always going to be more eyeballs on things that's stupid than things that's productive. Dummy. Yeah. Like this is the whole battle that we've been fighting for the last 5 years. Of course, there's going to be millions of people that watch your platform because you're talking about nothing. And you're talking about things that are completely irrelevant to the benefit of society. So there's always going to be more people that's interested in that than something that's productive. You can't figure that out. You haven't been able to decipher that part of it.
I like this version, and you got the wrong person locked up in the Tupac thing, but
oh
boy, all the detective work got the wrong fucking person. Jesus.
Another man locked up.
Can we talk about Amazon before it's over?
Yes,
so they finally.
I like this version of you though. I really. Let's clap it up. Clap it up. Shug Shotty. Hey.
Never seen these people. I never seen none of these people in public ever. We were everywhere. These people just stay behind a computer, and like I said, this dude is so awkward. He does interviews with people showing them. He did a whole interview with academics talking about me, showing academics. This guy's unbelievable weirdos. The highest level of weirdos possible. But Amazon job cuts finally hit profitability after cutting 27,000 employees. So is this a step in the right direction for the company?
Unfortunately, yes.
I'm glad you started with that word. I'm glad you started with that.
Unfortunately.
Mike, go double screen here, Mike.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. It's not a measure that I think they wanted to take when we talked about it, and I talked about this with Stock Club. Their profit margins aren't as high, I think, because they had such a stranglehold on market share. Like when I think of shopping, I think Amazon first. Mm-hmm. Then if it's food related, I go Uber Eats, right? Shadi, I don't win the same tribe when it comes to that. But what they didn't focus on enough was getting their profit margin up so they didn't have to do this. I think Amazon, like Apple, needs a little bit more innovation, but the thing that has saved Apple is the wide margins that they have on the hardware business and their illegal mob when it comes to getting the 30% out of every company in the App Store. So it is a step in the right direction. I don't like companies that cut jobs first as a way to raise profitability. I think there needs to be a lot more innovation. They need to figure out their pricing structure a lot better. But for the time being, this is going to benefit them.
This is a small glimpse into the world of economics in the United States. Yep. People are going to have to lose jobs for companies a lot of times to hit their bottom line. And if you look at the cycle of Amazon, we went over this 2 years ago. Every 4 years, they focus on infrastructure. I'm glad Aman was talking about that. Infrastructure is important to them. And so that costs. AWS, which is his saving grace every quarter. If you look at their quarters, if you looked at last week, AWS is its saving grace. It could be its own company on its own, but that costs, right? The amount of money that goes into AWS, and rightfully so, it's his breadwinner. But you heard what he just talked about when they're getting into AI, Anthropic. This is a very pricey endeavor. And so they have to have a certain amount of capital allocated to this, or they're going to get left behind. So we're talking about pairing, and and we already saw who Google's pairing with. We saw who Microsoft is pairing with. Amazon has to pair, and so they have. $4 billion was the number that they set up to, but I'm sure it's going to exceed that, right?
Yeah, it's going to pass that for sure.
Right? So the infrastructure, the only part that they can find where can we save money, because we're always going to keep our prices low when it comes to the e-commerce side. This is what gives us the competitive moat, right? Our prices are better than the competitors, plus we can get it to you faster. That side is not going to change. What can change is, can we do more with less? Mm-hmm. And a lot of companies have done this, and you saw that over the past 2 years. A lot of companies have decided, yes, we can do more with less, and by less, we're talking about staffing. And so when you see jobs get cut, this is the reason, because they need to have more capital on the bottom line to make sure that, number one, the infrastructure will be in place, but from a standpoint of expanding from the world of technology, that they're always on par with their competitors, so they can stay as one of those magnificent seven, which I think they will. I've said this for 3 years in a row. It's my favorite company. I think from a standpoint of having an ecosystem, they're in a perfect position, right? Even when we talked about Apple, and obviously it's the wealthiest company in the history of the United States, but we can see a slight dent, right? If we continue to see, and we said this last week, if there's no innovation inside of the phones, and that makes up for 50% of the revenue, there's a dent there. I feel like Amazon's ecosystem, when we're talking about where they can go in healthcare, right, where they can go in transportation, where they can go in e-commerce, and they can go in AI, it's so vast. So I like that ecosystem, but this is a casualty of it. This is a part of it. So I think, is it the right direction? Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah. And if Microsoft put in $10 billion for the partnership with OpenAI, they're going to have to spend more than $4 billion. Unfortunately, they may have to get up to 6.5, 7. So yeah, they have to free up some capital. It's unfortunate, but they have to do it in order to survive. And like you say, if it wasn't for AWS, we would be having a dramatically different conversation. Amazon's been the top 4 stock pick in Red Panda for 5 years. If they didn't have AWS, it'd probably be 11th, to be honest. AWS is a saving grace.
Yeah. It's the shining star of the company by far. It's not even close. But cloud service is needed. And if we're going into a space where we have to have storage, it's perfect. It's the perfect place for the future if we're talking about data storage. And they have it, and they're the leader in it. Microsoft right behind. But as of now, AWS is leading the way.
Can we talk about this cheesecake situation real quick and get out of here?
Yeah, well, let's do. I mean, I want one thing. What I wanted to just ask one question before we do that. What's the best business? 2 questions actually, but what's the best business to build in a recession? Because I think that's something that's important.
Yeah, it's really key. And I think people keep skating over this point. It's the business that changes someone's lives. Like Rashad, you pointed to it. I think you can go an entertainment, clout-driven route, or you can choose to have an impact in someone's life. A lot of times when people are building businesses, I think they're copying other people, but not knowing the impact. I was talking to Ish about this earlier, and we're talking about like rates and stuff like that. And I'm like, most of the people in broadcasting don't get paid a lot, because what is the value that they're giving? You're really just helping a lot of people pass time at work. But when you're able to transfer someone's life, like a Microsheet has, or like how we have with the show, or EYL, like the people that have made other people money, made their marriages better. Like if you look at Oprah back in the day, there was a service she provided in her broadcast that made people's lives actually better. So I think the best business to build in a recession is one that is actually going to change people's lives for the better. And there's not enough of that being done. There's too many copies of a copy. I don't need a Airbnb for German Chihuahua mixed with iguanas in Atlanta. Like, and boy on your ass about that food in Atlanta. Tighten up.
I saw
tighten that. Up. You better tighten up. Listen, I want to wait 55 minutes outside the hookah lounge when I can just bring you to the Airbnb, the hotel. Tighten up.
He went to Atlanta Breakfast Club. Did you go another one after that?
Who is this?
Yeah.
Food reviews, intense
food reviews. He had Atlanta on fire.
People was trying to shut us.
Intermezzo. Y'all still ain't did nothing about when my car got stolen either.
Yeah.
What we doing? I like y'all. Yo, shrimp Alfredo, all that fire. Okay. Hey, y'all need to hire better.
The consensus is that the food has been pretty good. the service has been pretty terrible.
Terrible.
He went to Little Baby's restaurant too.
Oh, I ain't go to Little Baby's restaurant, but I mean,
Yeah,
all the
they
places.
said the
I mean,
food,
we got good experiences in Atlanta. We have good
Yeah,
culinary
in Atlanta.
experiences. In
I
Atlanta.
think it's all right. It's cool.
Shout out. Well, all right.
Not. Well, I didn't want to confuse the Atlanta Breakfast Club with Breakfast at Barney's. Some people do that. Breakfast at Barney's was. I don't think he's going there yet. Shout out to Barney. That's one of our spots that we frequent a lot.
But what do you guys think? I know the vultures wouldn't answer this, but what business should you build in a recession?
Need-based business. I would look to see whatever, you know. I mean, that sounds like a cliche answer, but it's the truth, right? Like when we started Earn Your Leisure, it was just I felt like it was a need for, you know, financial education, financial media, and it wasn't actually we got another idea that we're gonna start. There's another need in the media space. But I felt like you should look at the landscape and see where's there's the need and what you can start at a low cost. Because you don't want to overextend yourself, especially in a recession. So you know, when you look at the communication space, when you look at the media space, when you look at, you know, a variety of different factors, there's opportunities. I think education is going to be revolutionized over the next 10, 15 years for sure. So, you know, I mean, the brands that are always, you know, most popular is like clothing brands and food brands. But once again, I don't know if there's a need for clothing brand. I don't know if there's a need. There's no need for a clothing brand. There's no need for food. Now, if you have exceptional product, you can still rise to the top, but it's tremendously harder, right? I always like to go places where nobody's going, nobody's thinking about, nobody's interested in. That's a niche. And always remember that you only need a small group of dedicated people to grow. Cults become culture. So
what do you guys think about healthcare from the standpoint of home health services? I think that's one of those things that I mean, even now we just kind of overlook, but it's something that is definitely needed. Name a community that doesn't need it. As a population, we're always going to get older. We're always going to need help, and we're always going to need medical care. And if you put those three things together, I don't care what type of environment you're in, that is going to be needed. The fact that we don't look into it more as a professional or career or from a standpoint of creating a business around, I'm not sure why, but it needs to be highlighted.
It's not clout worthy.
It's not, maybe it's not sexy enough, right? Nobody wants to be caught. Oh, I'm the guy that's driving the van, or I own those 10 vans. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a pride thing, but I mean, we all have had grandparents and aunts and uncles who were elderly who need assistance that we gave. So, I mean, I think that would be a great, if we're looking in terms of the world of healthcare. Plus, when you talk about insurance and insurance practices, I mean, we talk about guaranteed money from agencies. This is one of those places that we really should be looking at.
Sam Bankman Fried, can we get commentary on that? Because that's important also.
You know,
troubling to say that he didn't know that he was not able to use the customer's funds at his discretion. I thought Keefe D-Bet did a bad job of telling on himself. I said, damn, you're not even going to try and I wasn't aware. Also,
maybe Vlad can have him on and he can incriminate himself a little bit more.
He should. Part 2, right?
His net worth might be a little too high, though.
Live streaming from the courtroom
might be a little too high.
Tough. It's just a travesty overall. I was surprised at some of the commentary overall. I think he had at a time when he was on fire. And the issue is he didn't need to. It wasn't like Madoff's situation where he was robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then the Ponzi came falling down, and great. He tried to raise more capital. He chose not to build a great business. He wanted the shortcut way. And I think everyone who is deciding to take the shortcut route, they're all paying a price for it right now. We can give more commentary later, but that was the most damning admission I've heard, is that he really thought he can just use customer funds for whatever he wanted to. And I'm not sure why legal let him state that.
Yeah. And then the woman who worked with him said he told her to do it.
Look, man,
listen, if we've never had an example more clear of not leading with your wallet, listen, you can have all the money in the world, but if you got billions and that's what you end up with, babe, boy, You need to do some self-reflection. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's like we said last week. If it sounds like a fraud, if it smells like a fraud, then it probably is a fraud. So, you know.
Have you guys been watching live late at night recently? Speaking of which,
watching what?
No, okay. Been watching Instagram Live.
Oh no.
Sometimes.
Yeah, never.
Sometimes I watch it.
Stuff going on over there.
Some entertainment commentary.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Hey, what do I know?
So somebody put a list. So somebody put a list. This is actually a good financial conversation.
And you agree with the list?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why. A list of places women absolutely refuse to go to on a first date. Thank you, ladies, who reached out to help me make this list. I don't know who made the list, but I guess a woman made the list. Now, absolutely refuse is a strong word. So, but you know, for somebody like me who's actually been in this game for a long time, and I'm a pretty reasonable person. I'm a reasonable person.
I'm just a reasonable man.
I gotta be honest with you. So I'm just gonna go through all of these real.
How many is it?
20.
About 17 of them. 20.
Let's start at the bottom.
No, some of them joints is ridiculous.
A sporting event. No, this is why sporting events is a bad idea to go to on a first date, because you don't even know somebody. So it's hard to talk and get to know somebody. This is why like sporting events, movies, bowling, that's all weird. That's weird because like if I don't know you from anywhere, why am I going to go to a social environment where we're not even going to be talking a lot? It's a lot going on. That's something that is probably unadvised. We can knock out all of those in one realm. Sporting events, bowling alley, all of that type of paint and sip. Wait, that's the third date.
Is this like a cold first date?
Wait to the third date. That's the
I'm
first
asking like this somebody you've been knowing, or like,
thinking like
Mike, zoom me in real quick.
Why
it's like
because I'm thinking like if you're going, and like I said, I've been dating the same person for a long time, but I'm just assuming that you would know the person and then ask them to accompany you on.
Most of these goofies,
you're just some random person.
I'm just assuming it's just a random person.
Oh, I
for Instagram that you've never seen before.
Yeah. Okay, this is
got you. Okay,
that
gives context.
That's weird behavior. That's weird.
That could
take somebody to the movies that you've never seen before.
That's stupid game.
That's not advised. That's unadvisable.
I agree.
In the other scenario, it would like that. There would be nothing wrong with that, right?
What
if like you knew the person, but you're not at that point, and you was like, yo.
Most first dates, you don't know somebody. I'm just saying, most first dates is I meet a girl in the mall, and I get her information, and then I text her, and then I say I want to take you out. Okay, that's a first date. All right, not that I've known you for 10 years.
No, I'm not even saying that you know somebody.
You don't know anyone. You don't know them.
All right,
pull up at Willowbrook. Gotcha.
The gym, that's weird. Who invites somebody to the gym on a first date? The church, that's weird.
That's big weird.
That's weird. It's a good list.
And the girls who try and take you to church first be psychos, yo.
It's weird.
Weird.
It's weird behavior.
Find your soul.
Nightclubs, hookah lounges.
Hookah could be a vibe.
All of that stuff is weird. That's weird. That's all weird. I'm not inviting
the hookah lounge won't work.
Hookah lounge
later on in the night. Not as the first thing. Like I first meet you.
But I'm putting the date as like one experience.
It's night. It's the whole night. It's the whole experience.
But I'm talking about as like the first entry, the first
interaction. I got you. Okay.
First interaction.
Got you.
Now, this is where it gets complicated with these restaurants of Cheesecake, Applebee's, Chili's, Chipotle,
Chipotle.
Here's how you could possibly. So all you red pill people. Don't come down. I'm gonna give you something. I'm gonna give you a bone here.
Pause.
You can possibly.
No. You have to pause that.
How is that pause? It's like a dog. You give a dog a bone.
Nah. You got to pause that, my guy.
I'm not pausing.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm gonna give. That's crazy.
I'm gonna give you a bone.
That's crazy. You got to pause that.
Here's how you can go to one of these things. It has to be during the daytime. Lunch. Like if you work in the city and it's like, hey, let's just. Your office is right there. Meet me for coffee
real quick.
Starbucks, you can actually do.
That's on the list.
No, Starbucks, you can.
Why do. That was on there?
You can do that.
They hate the Starbucks.
It can't be like an elaborate. You can't have an elaborate dinner at Starbucks.
Nah, but you go like, yo, let's grab coffee.
No, yeah,
meet
me for the coffee. It got to be daytime hours. Daytime hours.
Yeah, you're not.
Not 8 o'clock at night. 8 o'clock at night, Starbucks is crazy.
Weird. Now, that's
crazy.
a weird spot to be. I'm be honest. You look at if you go in the city and somebody's in Starbucks after like 8:30, it's like, bro,
you're there for a reason.
Why you there?
You're there for a reason. But
get your own Wi-Fi, bro.
Yeah, is it a date? That's the thing. Technically,
it's a date. It's a date.
It's like a half date. It's a halfway date.
Ain't no date. I ain't even gonna lie.
It's a soft date. I'm not really sure if I even want to be with you, so I need to exit. I got an hour for lunch.
But you can do that on FaceTime, though.
You FaceTime strangers?
I have before.
FaceTime strangers?
But better than going to the date. FaceTime and see if we vibe. Before we get to you earn a date, nah, you got to pass a couple of checks first. I ain't going out the date to get the big Fendi.
Now, all these third tier restaurants like Cheesecake Factory, Applebee's, Chili's, and
Cheesecake is third tier already?
Cheesecake Factory?
I don't know. Is it?
It shouldn't be.
Have you ate their food?
Nah, the food's
that's warmed up in the oven. That's warmed up in the oven.
Some of
the food at Cheesecake is
Chipotle definitely a deal for a date.
It's Applebee's.
I put it above Applebee's.
It's the same as Applebee's.
No, Applebee's.
It's a tier above.
It's a tier above Applebee's, bro.
It's a tier above.
That's great.
Applebee's though,
Yard House is better than
Yard House. I would put Yard House and Cheesecake at the same level. The food is good as Yard House too. Cheesecake got some joints.
Are you taking a first date to Cheesecake Factory?
If I'm 16,
Ian,
17,
we're talking about adults. We're talking about people that's right now.
It's like Sugar Factory.
Ian, are you taking a date to Cheesecake Factory?
I'll take it to the M&M store downtown. First of all, I go there. I'm
going
good.
to Sugar Factory.
I'm not, or Chipotle. Chipotle ain't a date.
Nah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I can Uber Eats the Chipotle to the hotel if we date.
It's not a date, like he said. It's a hybrid. It's one of these things like, hey, just meet me up.
Bro, you're not
neither one of you feel comfortable. Let me just explain this. If you're going to Chipotle, neither one of you really. She thinks that you might be crazy. You think that she might be weird.
1,700 people in line
to take somebody on a lunchtime date to Chipotle is you haven't fully brought into the situation, and it's a one step in, one step out. I don't really know. Let's just, it's like that's like the ice cream situation.
Gotta fill out my meter's running out.
I think this list was like women that want like a serious situation.
So where are they going? Where are they going? Let me take a look.
A nice restaurant. No, this is just places that they don't want to go.
Yeah, I didn't agree with the Cheesecake one because there's some quality options there. IHOP was on that list. That's ridiculous.
IHOP, Red Lobster, Wingstop.
She thinking Philippe.
It's there now. Buffalo Wild Wings. Family
functions. That's a weird thing.
I'm
not meeting your family. Don't take me to a family reunion if I just met you.
So all right. So then
that's weird. This is not a bad list. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Then where should people go on the first date?
They should go to a restaurant.
So like a tier.
They should go to a restaurant.
Tier 1, tier 2.
It's a variety of different places. You can go to a Japanese restaurant. You can go to a nice Chinese restaurant. You can go to a steakhouse. You don't got to go to the most expensive restaurant in the world, but you can go to a restaurant. That's normal behavior for a first date.
They need alternatives. Is that the only place they can go?
Yeah.
Like, we can't go to the park? Like, what can we do?
No,
he's back. He's back.
Of course, you can go to a park.
That's what I'm saying. If there's going to be a list of
how many parks have you went to for a first date in your life?
Can we keep it real? A lot of these, like, what I'm saying, if a girl really vibing with you, you can take her anywhere.
Anyway, that's true. But I'm saying if there's going to be a list of 30 places that they're saying that you shouldn't go, then it should be at least a list of 10 places that that might not be a bad idea.
Here's my conversation for people that's be like, yo, you don't gotta spend no money on the first date. You can just take it to the, if your game is right.
Go to Pound Town.
Here's my thing.
We're going to Pound.
Here's my thing.
Hey, we're gonna get to it.
Where you going?
All the little dates over with.
Here's
Pound Town. What's up?
Like I think you should do whatever you enjoy. I would go to restaurants because I like to eat. I'm not going to Applebee's because it's going to mess up my stomach. Like I'm not going to compromise.
You ain't doing the 2 for $20.
No, I want to eat. Not like I like to actually eat. I like to actually eat a good meal. Like I'm into food. So when I go, the experience is really about what I really want. And then it's like you just happen to be here.
Be there. Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So
big facts.
It's real talk. So I don't like to sit down on public parks and have picnics. I have knee problems. My back hurts. I'm not an outdoor person. So I'm not into the park thing. But if you're into the park thing,
you would put that on a list.
You should do it if that's what you're into.
Recreation.
I'm trying to give commentary for the audience. Like, what could they do?
I wouldn't go to a place that I'm not going to a park by myself. So I'm not going to go with a date. That's not enjoyable. I would go to a restaurant by myself if I was hungry and just have a drink. And like by myself. I would eat dinner by myself if I needed to. So this is something that it doesn't. It's just a conversation can't hurt. So I think you should do whatever you would like to do personally, and then have that person come along with you.
Yeah, I think movies is a good starter, guys.
You would go to the movies with somebody that you
on a
never
first
met
date?
ever.
I think
That's psycho. That's like it's psychopath behavior, bro.
I don't know. I've been out. I
just met her in Hudson Yards, and then we go to the movie, or I knew her
like
already.
you grab it. Like it's part of. It might be part of the evening. You never know.
No, I'm talking about you meet somebody on Instagram. You never met them in person ever, and
that's weird.
You're setting a date. And
that's how most first dates happen.
The date is, hey, I got 8 p.m. movie tickets for us.
Let me
Saw 9.
Let me give context.
What?
Let me give context.
What? You're gonna kill you.
No.
You might get killed.
Let's say that I spoke to her. Right? I spoke to her. She's a huge Beyonce fan. I go take her to see the Beyonce joint
on the first date.
The movie. It's coming out.
Yeah.
I'll see what you're trying to do.
You see what I'm saying? Right? We're going to see that. We might grab a bite to eat prior to that. You see what I'm saying?
Here's the thing.
That's the thoughtfulness in there.
But you haven't. When's the last time you went on the first date?
A long time.
Exactly. So
and it's a different era too.
That's why I said I don't know. I said I thought that would be all right.
This is the problems with that. Let's say you go on a date and you get to speak and dinner, and she turns out to be a weirdo. I don't want to spend 2 hours with you in a movie sitting next to you eating popcorn. That's even more awkward situation. The dinner's the fill out. This is a fill out conversation where we can communicate with each other in a controlled environment. We're not walking, we're sitting down, we're next to each other, we're having a conversation.
You don't do the 10-minute FaceTime to fill it out first?
Here's the thing. I'm looking at that differently. I would see like, yo, the movie might be something now that we can have a conversation about over dinner. I can get some of your interests, some of your likes.
Imagine going to a movie with a stranger.
I'm not saying a stranger. Obviously, I'm not.
That's a stranger, bro. She's a stranger.
I'm like, I admired her. I know I've seen her a few times. Like, yo, what you doing?
Seen her where?
This is a new age. You're talking about Instagram. I'm talking about like
90% of relationships are getting started on social media.
IG. Yep.
There's no seeing anybody. You're seeing their pictures.
Or you see them at investments.
Big Fendi.
And
some of y'all was vibing at investments.
You know what I'm saying?
Better.
Yeah, pocket check. Ladies, I told y'all in Chicago.
You know
quick little finesse.
Ian, what's your date?
What would you add? For the gentleman.
What's your date rules? What's your rules? What's Ian Dunlap's date rule?
But can he just give us? You told me. I know you said a restaurant, Ian. I want to hear
like, where I won't go.
That's his date rule.
Where are you going?
Oh, I'm with Shotty though. I'm done with this too though. But like all my first dates be like vacations and shit though to places I'm going. Just come with. You want to talk like the little $500 just stay STK? Boy, I would have really London real quick. Bora Angle. Hey, where we gonna go? I don't want to be though. But
before you met him, no, I'm just before you met him.
My first. You want the real? My first date. Pound town, we going pound town. Ain't no dinner. We going right to it. You know in 8 seconds if you like me or not. What we doing? I don't give a fuck about no flounder. Pound town, you going pound town.
You put pound town in the GPS.
Big Fendi. Everyone, you see me when pound town first. But put yes in the chat if you know. Ty, where you at? Biggs, I'm the other easy money sniper. Quit playing. I don't want to hear nothing about your aspirations when you was 3.
Your first date is an Uber to your house.
Euro step, Giannis. Oh,
yo, it says right there, bad spot, your house.
That's your first date. That's your first date of choice.
I may go to an alternative location, but my spot a vibe though.
No, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that's your first time we ever meet somebody. You're coming to my residence.
It has happened. Not all the time. It has happened.
Is that like Netflix? Is it a Netflix and chill situation, or it's like, yo,
I maybe Paramount and Pound. You know what I mean?
Paramount.
Go get all the little Fijis you want.
This is the real Paramount.
I'm only giving you the real. I'm sorry. That's the other feel out. I'm gonna FaceTime you. Great, come through. Want to kick it? Cool. No pressure. We're gonna get to it. Then before we get to all the love, bring you out. So. These are just jokes written by 85 South, DC Young Fly, Chico B, and Martin Lawrence.
Yeah,
I'll be in New York City this weekend.
Somewhere that requires a long drive is crazy.
I would say this.
That's crazy.
As best practices. If that is the I would say to try to do an alternate location, because old school rules is never show somebody where you live if you don't know.
In fact, this alternate location is big.
Because you can get
alternate car is big too, though. I'll never take them in the real car.
No, you never show them where you live, though. That's important.
You won't get a plate, What you think I had the little Mazda for? You think? Here, come get it in this. Nope.
All right, it says a bar for drinks. Can we grab drinks?
It's just loud. You can do a bar. It's just loud. It's loud.
Yeah, it's loud.
Happy hour.
Happy hour is even louder.
Usually
that's too much for me. Yeah,
happy hour. Everybody's there for happy hour.
But usually happy hours don't have.
Just go. Look, guys. Just go to dinner. Just go to dinner.
You gotta have alternatives.
No, there's no need to alter.
If dinner can be boring though. Dinner a boring first date sometime though.
No, if she's a boring, only if the person is boring.
Now we gotta.
Oh, see, we talking.
The person is boring.
But you're not gonna know that. It's a complete stranger.
Exactly.
You don't know it until you sit down.
Exactly. It doesn't always work out.
When we out.
Yeah, I don't always work out.
Are you ever at any point saying I'm leaving the table and never coming back?
Oh, big. I'm not
gonna run out on the bill. I'm not gonna run out on the bill.
You run on the bill.
No, I'm gonna pay the bill, but I'm leaving though.
No. I'm gonna tell now. I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna end the night. I'm gonna end
big Fendi.
I'm not gonna.
I done hit the maitre d' a couple times. Here, go take the 300.
Oh yeah, I think the mommy
born as hell, boy.
Nah, I'll call your Uber. Like, you know, I immediately call your Uber. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
you making up like saying like you saying that?
No, yeah, I'm call your Uber.
Okay,
I'm gonna call your Uber because it's over. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's wrap this up now. Bring a check and let's call Uber. But for the most part, dinner. Look, guys, dinner's a safe bet. Outside of the low tier dinner place.
What restaurant then?
Brooklyn Chop House.
Shout out to Brooklyn Chop House.
Shout out to Don Poole.
Shout out to my guy.
We frequent there.
Shout out to my guy. Nah, but you can go to a variety of different places. Like I said, I mean, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg. You can go to one of these. There's a lot of Asian restaurants that's decent priced. There's a lot of any type of food you want. You go to any type of food. I don't want to be specific. Go to an Ethiopian restaurant. Just be prepared to eat with your hands. That might be something that might be a little awkward if you just met somebody.
Very intimate.
No, it's very intimate.
It is.
But Mexican, go to like a Mexican restaurant, like a more high-end Mexican restaurant.
What about hibachi?
Hibachi gets tricky because you're with strangers.
But everybody doesn't know anyone.
So that's a little awkward because you don't have that one-on-one time to communicate. I would say sushi. Sushi is a good. Sushi is the cheap.
Easy.
Listen, sushi. This is what you do. You go to a sushi restaurant. It's the cheapest, most respectable place that you go to. You're not paying more than $20 for sushi. I don't care where you go. So and they're all nice places. Relative, they're better than Cheesecake Factory. Go to sushi. Thank me later.
Yo, listen.
Can we announce the winners, please?
Can I just say that the salmon nachos at Cheesecake are official, bro. You would like them. I know you would like them. That's a fact.
Cheesecake Factory.
That's a fact. And the avocado rolls is incredible.
It's warmed up in the oven.
They got avocado rolls at Cheesecake Factory?
Avocado rolls is official,
it's
bro.
They're frozen and they warm it up in the oven.
Here's a fact, though. They import the cheesecake, though. They don't make it on site. I didn't know that till like 2 years ago.
And the cheesecake is official, too.
They just put it in the freezer.
That's different. Yeah, that's different. The food.
Yeah.
Shout out to maybe we'll get a free meal out of this.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. So we got to announce our 10 winners from Market Monday Chicago. These 10 people will be added to Sniper, and they are also being added to Stock Club. Is that Stock Club? That's correct, Ian?
Yes.
All right. So here are our winners. Please listen for your names. And we already have your email, so we're going to add you hopefully tonight, if not first thing in the morning. Morgan McClellan, you are our first winner. Congratulations to you. Mike Lloyd, you are the second winner. Daryl Reynolds, you are our third winner. Corey Patterson, Derek Cornelius, Keisha Jackson, Deja Blair, Donna Holt, Casey Taylor, and Cheryl Northcutt. Congratulations to all 10 of you. You are now on your way to your trading future.
Thank you, guys.
Being part of the Sniper program as well as Stock Club.
Thank you guys for coming. Oh yeah, another thing with the sushi thing is that it's quick too. It's very quick, so that's another. You can those places, they get you in and out. So in case the date does go bad, in case the Uber needs to 45 minutes. It's been real. Get some sake,
Call you an Uber.
Yeah, just in case it don't go well.
Namaste.
Yeah.
Konnichiwa.
Should the date be earned though, or we're gonna say that for another day? For
Everything,
love.
everything's earned.
Everything earned, right?
How to avoid dinner scammers?
Well, you know who we are?
The next topic on Earn Your Leisure.
You know who
If they take my advice, they'll avoid it.
Can you do it? Can you do a 90-minute investigative journalistic reaction video on that? How to avoid dinner scammers? Can you interview people that have been victimized by dinner scammers and do a investigative journalism reaction YouTube video for that one? That would be helpful.
That'd be funny
for sure.
The dinner scam,
absolutely,
for sure.
Women are part of this as well,
for sure.
They can't scam if the goofies go for it.
Takes two.
Dudes be doing way worse.
You think?
No, the dudes are just giving money on Cash App.
Oh, for real. that let me pay your rent thing that Chris posted that one. Oh, I know about 10 of them. Yeah, girl, let me just pay your rent for the month. What?
Yo, did y'all see Flavor Flav before we go?
Yeah.
We're in trouble.
World War III.
Big facts.
World War III is on its way.
Wow.
Save your money. Buy precious metal.
For real. GG King ain't playing. Oh my God.
We're in trouble.
Save your money, ladies and gentlemen, and buy precious metals.
Yes. Oh man.
Yo, man.
All right,
we'll see y'all next week. Thank you for rocking with us.
Salute.